so she had surgery. She had, could she talk a little bit about her health? I mean, I'm not trying to pry, but it seems like she had ongoing medical issues. If it wasn't one thing, it was another. And it all seemed legitimate. And it got me to thinking. So I kind of have a two-prong question. Was some of her ill health the result of an overly controlled diet? Or was some of her ill health from malnutrition as a child?
Marilyn, could you comment about your health? Did you have lingering problems because of malnutrition as a child? Did you have health issues because of your strict diet? Yeah, she wasn't properly nourishing herself. She didn't understand what we do today about the various things that you need to stay balanced. And I'm also hearing that she had PCOS, and that was very debilitating to her.
She had what?
PCOS, polycystic ovary, I think, something.
I didn't know. I didn't know that. I know what that is. I didn't know that there was an acronym like that.
Yeah.
Yes, she did. And she had endometriosis. She had issues with her cycle. She had several miscarriages, and she had other abdominal issues. Like I think she had her gallbladder out. She just seemed to have a lot going on for somebody who looked healthy and was young, and
Yeah.
I thought about this a lot, and I wondered, given what happened to her child, and don't want to go into details, did she pick up some injuries or some infections that were long-term results that she dealt with as an adult? I wondered about that.
So, Marilyn, could you tell us some of your problems as an adult, particularly the reproductive problems? Were they a result of what happened to you as a child? Yeah, yeah. Because there was damage done because of,
Yes.
early
Yes. Yes.
activity and yeah,
That's terrible.
yeah.
Well, let's see here. She lived for a while in this kind of housing arrangement for stars, for women in acting. And this is like 1948. This is before what we've just talked about. But later on, shortly after the situation with Joe DiMaggio and everything, the gossip columnists managed to track down her roommate from when she lived in this boarding house for theatrical women as a young woman. And it was really interesting. She did an interview, went into the LA Times, and it kind of blew people's minds because it wasn't the Marilyn they thought they knew. She cared about how many bookshelves. She said that people would come in to get settled in their rooms, and they would be bringing in hair gel and curling irons and, the accoutrement of your looks and huge wardrobes. She said that Marilyn showed up worried about making bookshelves. She arrived with a ton of books. She read all the time while she was drying her hair and getting ready. And the number one thing in her life was her career. She didn't spend time fussing about boys and, the way most younger women her age were. Her motto, she told people, was make yourself the best in your field and you're sure to reach the top. She had no interest in things of the heart, but got tons of interest from men. She went to bed early. She was careful about her diet and exercise. She read the classics. She was thoughtful and quiet. She was generous. She was always letting people borrow her car. She gave her old clothes. She packed them up and mailed them to relatives of hers in Florida who were poor. She only ever received 2 gifts from men the whole time she was living there. And it was like a constant stream of men trying to attract these young women, right? She got 2 dozen roses, which she immediately gave to some group, some organization. And she got some gardenias, and she gave the gardenias to the maid at the rooming house. But it just goes on and on and on. She didn't want to get married. She wanted to have 4 kids, she told her friend. So how much of this is true? Let's ask Marilyn. How much of this is true and describes how she presented herself to her early roommates, and how much of it was fabricated for the interview?
Okay, so Marilyn, can you tell us about the interview with your friend from the boarding house? Was there any of what she said that was true? Yeah, it was essentially true. She embellished some things, but it was essentially true. And yes, I did bring books, and I was happy to loan books to people if they wanted to read, because I would love to have somebody to discuss the books with. And yeah, there were men hanging around, but I was really focused on my career. That's true. So I didn't pay them much mind. And I'd already been married and gone through all that early stuff. So I was ready to focus on me and making a better life for myself. And I didn't keep the flowers from the men because I didn't want to encourage them. So by giving them away, that was my way of clearly giving them a sign that their attentions were not welcome. That was the reason for that.
Yeah, smart. Yeah. So now we are at the point where she starts Marilyn Monroe Productions. She had a friend, Milton Green, and they found out that the contract that she had signed with the studio had never actually signed. They had actually never put a name to an important part of the contract. So it was kind of null and void, and they could contest it. And when she wasn't getting what she wanted, she took off to New York, and she and Milton started this production company. And, imagine telling the studio where to stuff it. And she, technically, I guess they considered the contract valid. So she was breaking the contract, which took guts. And technically, it wasn't valid because it wasn't completely signed. But she took off and got involved in New York theater. She got invitations to go on Broadway. She was involved in stage, offers of being in stage productions. They were working on getting contracts, writing movies, getting the rights to movies. So could she talk about that? I mean, I admire this so much. I can't believe she did what she did. That took guts. Can she talk about that?
Can you tell us about the chapter in your life where you partnered up with Milton Green and you were in New York working on your production company? It was exhilarating. I had control of my life for once. It was like I had been let loose from the golden cage. The bird flew the coop. And I was so excited with all the opportunities that were out there. But I had to be careful and choose properties that would allow me to express myself in a way that would stand the test of time. I wanted to leave a mark that was beyond the dumb blonde. And this was my opportunity. I took it very seriously. I worked very hard.
So they had successes and failures. We're still on my first set of notes. So I'm trying to gloss over things. Eventually, she and Milton fell out. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, can you tell us about what happened between you and Milton when you fell out with each other? Same old story. He got to the point where he was trying to control me, and that was antithetical to the whole purpose of what I was doing. But he still had that male mindset. He couldn't help himself. So we butted heads about the directions that we wanted to go and the things that we wanted to invest in. And honestly, the ones that were failures were his picks. So it quickly became obvious to me that if I was going to make a success of this venture, that he would have to be out of the picture.
Um, she, at that point, she met the Strasbergs. I think I said that right. Lee and Paula Strasberg, and they dominated her life until right before she died. And I have just never been able to figure out what was the hold. How did they get their claws into her? She hated being controlled, and that's what they did. How did they do that?
Marilyn, can you talk about what happened with the Strasbergs? How did they get their hooks into you and control you when you were so set on being independent? I worshipped Lee. I thought he hung the moon, and that made me vulnerable. For a time, he did help me, but I didn't count on Paula's influence. She was very subtle. She got her hooks into me early on, messed with my head, and before you know it, I was all confused, and I thought I was making my own choices, but I can see in retrospect, it was like I was her robot. She was directing me. Things went downhill from there.
Like many predators, they recognized her vulnerabilities and they preyed upon her by using those fears and anxieties. And they were so dishonest. They manipulated her, they took advantage of her, and they exploited her. And they squeezed every penny they could get out of her. And after she died, through this weird, legal thing, his second wife, I think that's who it was, inherited everything that belonged to Marilyn Monroe. It was terrible what they did to her. But the worst that they did to her, I think, was their manipulation of her and the damage they did her self-esteem and psyche.
Yeah.
Could she talk about when did she realize?
Yeah. I also want to ask, though, did she really sign that paperwork? Or did they forge it
What paperwork?
that let the wife inherit all of her worldly goods?
Well, that's a good question because it has to do with the events of the week she died, when she got in touch with her lawyer and said, like on a Thursday or a Friday, called the lawyer in New York and said, I'm coming on Monday and I'm rewriting my will. And, the lawyer, at least one of the lawyers, was the brother-in-law of her psychiatrist. I mean, it was a Gordian knot of abuse and exploitation. It was terrible.
So should we wait for that question till we get to
Yeah,
that
there's
part?
so much
Okay.
more. Yeah.
All right. Now remind me what this question is.
Okay, well, I don't remember. So here's here's a new question. We could do this for 7 hours and never hit all the
Yeah.
high points. So she had, in my opinion, she can correct me, of course, she had some kind of karmic relationship with Abraham Lincoln. Discuss.
Oh, okay, Marilyn. Is it true you had a karmic relationship with Abraham Lincoln? Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Can she
Oh my
be more?
gosh.
Tell us more.
She was his wife.
Mary Todd Lincoln?
Mary Todd Lincoln? You were her? Yes.
No.
And they had unfinished business. He was just a large presence in her consciousness.
She had his
Because of
picture
that.
hanging over her bed. And she went on a special trip to go visit the Lincoln, I don't know, was the Lincoln Library or Lincoln Museum? I mean, it's been a while since I've read this. She just had this affinity, and she said something once. I believe that she was psychic. I believe that fully. So my question to her is that true? And it's, in my opinion, based on something she said in passing once when John Kennedy ran for office. She told somebody, He is another Lincoln.
Okay.
Well, that gives me
Marilyn,
the
is that,
chills, cold chills
yeah.
up and down my spine. Yeah.
Well, let's ask if that's true. Is it true that you said to somebody that Kennedy was another Lincoln? Yes. Okay. So would you say that you were psychic? Yes. She had really good intuition. She didn't consider herself psychic,
Well,
but she
nobody
had
ever
good
does.
intuition. Yeah.
Most people are intuitive and, intuitive psychic. You tell me the difference. There's no difference. It's a
Yeah.
matter of degree and it's a matter of acceptance, right? And she was very psychic because little hints of it came out all throughout her life. She'd have premonitions or ideas or gut feelings. And fortunately, a lot of it has been recorded. And when I read that she equated John Kennedy with Abraham Lincoln, I went, oh my God. Because that's so many layers to that
Yeah.
equation, right? Yeah. Okay. Oh, and she said once that as a child, Lincoln represented sort of a father figure to her, which is kind of creepy if she was married to him in the past. I mean, what was she thinking? Ask her. I'm kidding, but ask her.
You want me
I
to
mean,
ask her about
yeah,
Lincoln being her father?
well, I'm teasing. But she probably heard it. Yeah, because if she looked up at him as a father, but she was actually married in her previous life, that crosses a few boundaries. Just
Not really, because so many relationships through the ages have been kind of that
of
father-daughter
course,
thing.
I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Because you could be another gender, a completely different I mean, yeah, that cracked me up. Uh, she didn't want to be on TV. I thought that was interesting, and I'm glossing over things here, trying to get things moving along. Um, Lots of she was great friends with Marlon Brando. I thought that was interesting. What did she see in Marlon Brando?
Yeah, Marilyn, tell us about you and Marlon Brando. Oh, if you knew Marlon like I knew him, he was deep. He was sensitive. He was a thinker. We had a lot to talk about. We had some similar experiences. He had some childhood trauma himself.
Oh, I believe that.
And he was somebody she felt safe to confide things in, which we would, of course, be aghast at that, but that's who he was to her. They were really good friends. She respected him a lot.
I forgot to mention somebody who was also important in her life. Ralph Roberts. He was her masseuse, and they became lifelong friends. He was such a defender. He was always there for her. Could she talk about that a little bit?
Okay, Marilyn, can you tell us about Ralph Roberts and that relationship? She said he held my heart in the palm of his hand. I just knew.
Oh.
We were soulmates, but not romantic soulmates. We were there for one another like a brother and sister.
She mentioned a moment when they were talking one night, and he used to give her a massage almost every day, and she would kind of go into a bit of a meditative state, and they had a conversation about something, and I wish I could remember now what it was, because it was, to me, one of those psychic moments. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about somebody that Laurence Olivier. I'm just going to leave it at that. She can say what she
Okay.
wants.
Yeah. So, Marilyn, tell us about Laurence Olivier. Well, I know what you're thinking. His nose was in the air, and he thought he was so much better than me. But he was a fine actor. He was well respected. And I thought having a project with him would help me achieve some of my goals to get more respect as an actress, not just the dumb blonde. But I have to tell you, I underestimated how tedious it would be working with someone like him.
He was so nasty to
He was
her.
insufferable at times.
Yes.
I had to
Yeah.
choke back the words because he was so full of himself. I don't know how his wife put up with him.
He was a type. She should have asked me. I could have told her. He was a type that I revile. That the superior English landed, full of himself. That appalling. I the things he said to her, I'm not even going to repeat them, but they were so derogatory and dismissive and nasty. And he wasn't fooling anybody. Anybody who has any ability to read energy knows what he was. That's disgusting. I apologized to her for him because it was horrible. Um, let's see here. Okay, so she gets involved with Arthur Miller. Out of the fat, into the fire, Marilyn. That, I don't need to tell you. That was a disastrous relationship from the beginning. He was a narcissist, another abusive narcissist. That word gets thrown around a lot, but that's because a lot of people are that way. A lot of people seem kind of devoid of anything but ego, totally driven by ego. So my question to her is, how would she describe that relationship and that marriage?
So tell us about your marriage to Arthur Miller. Well, we started off on a whirlwind. We felt like we were kindred souls. We had so much in common on the intellectual level. But once the bud on the rose started to fade, it went downhill pretty fast. All of a sudden, this man who adored me is now belittling me, disparaging me. And that was hard to take.
Do you know
I
what
had
he
to
did?
choke back.
Oh, sorry. Thought you were done.
No.
Do you know what he did? This is so evil. He would write in his diary horrible things about her, like things he didn't say out loud, but he would write them in his diary. And he would leave that page open, like by her chair or her place, assured that she would actually read it because it was left open in her spot. Passive aggressive, nasty, horrible stuff.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay. Oh, and he said things about her. I thought I was marrying an angel, and I find out I've married not a nice term for a woman.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So she got pregnant, but then she had a miscarriage, and I don't know if this is not a fair question. Was it devastating? Or and I know this sounds terrible, but when you're in a bad relationship and you
Yeah.
get pregnant, was it almost a relief? I mean, how did that work for her?
So, Marilyn, how did you feel about the miscarriage with Arthur? Yeah, if I'm honest, I'd have to say it was a relief. That marriage was going nowhere fast. I can't imagine bringing a child into it. Oh, and she also said he probably would have taken the child from her out of spite.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he wanted to be a father, but just out of spite.
Yeah.
That was where the energy was.
He had her pay the alimony and child support on his previous family, his wife and children. She had more of a relationship with his children than he did. She had more of a relationship with Joe DiMaggio Jr. than his father had with him. I'm telling you that she nurtured relationships. Children loved her, and she loved them. She had rapport with children. So rather than me going through this and asking 60 million kind of brainless questions, I'm gonna do an open-ended question. Could she describe her doctors, Green and Chris and what was it, Engelbert? Engelbert, something like that. Can she describe those characters and their relationship to her?
So, Marilyn, could you tell us, were they medical doctors or psychologists or?
Psychiatrists and therapists.
Okay. So, Marilyn, could you speak to us about your psychiatrists and your therapists? Yeah, they were some lot, weren't they? I
Horrifying.
needed help. They were recommended to me. I thought they could help me. But then in retrospect, I can see that all they did was use me to further their own careers. And they had a vested interest in keeping me weak, controlling me.
That's right.
And sooner or later, I saw through them and I ditched them. But like that repeating pattern, it just kept happening. I had the worst luck with doctors.
Does she know how involved Green, was it Green? Was that his name? Was in the communist kind of underground, the Communist Party at the time?
Was Green her partner Green or
Her doctor.
a Dr. Green? Okay.
I may have the name wrong. There's so many names, and I'm really a bad person remembering names. Was it Greenberg or Green? Well, she'll know who I mean. Her doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you have any idea about your doctor being a communist, being very deeply involved with the party? I didn't pay attention to such things. That was not important to me. So he may have been.
So she didn't understand, like a little bit later on in the narrative, she bought a house. By the way, I love that house. I just wanted to congratulate her on her good taste. I love that house. It's California Moorish style with red tile and kind of stucco and on a beautiful piece. It was gorgeous. Not ostentatious, but beautiful. So good job, Marilyn. Very good job. So she bought this house and oh darn, what was I going to say? I distracted myself. We were talking about her doctor.
The communist.
Oh, because she bought the house, she wanted to decorate it with the kind of Spanish flavor on the inside. So she was going to Mexico to look for good deals on things like pottery and decorations and furniture. And while she was there, they arranged for her to meet some people. And it turns out after the fact that they were involved in kind of nefarious anti-government communist activities and hoping to spy on her. And this is where it starts to get really complicated. She had housekeeper Eunice, and Eunice was recommended by this doctor. Eunice was married to a very high-placed communist guy in California. The doctor was very involved. The other doctor, Engelbert, was very involved. And it was all on the down low. Nobody knew about it unless you were inside that communist group. And you have to remember, this is in the context of the Red Scare of the 50s. You know, McCarthy was blacklisting people and destroying their careers, throwing people in jail. I mean, Molly John Fast, you know, Erica Jong's daughter, her grandfather ended up in prison for refusing to name names at McCarthy, you know, to McCarthy. Dalton Trumbo, is that right?
Dalton Trumbo
fled to Mexico to get away from it. And it was bad for quite a while. People's careers were ruined. He started writing movies under a completely different name so that he could, you know, have a career. And she was kind of oblivious. Was she oblivious, really that oblivious to what was going on around her? Did she understand that Eunice was reporting back every single thing that happened in her apartment and then in her house to these characters, these doctors?
Marilyn, did you know that your maid Eunice was a communist spy, was reporting all of your activities? No, I didn't. I was oblivious to it because I was so focused on building my career, my company, and my life. And you got to realize that was a lot of balls in the air for me. So
Right.
I was not paying attention in the home front. I was happy that she took care of things, made my life easier at home. I was totally clueless.
Oh, I I don't point fingers because I understand how easy it would be to take people on face value.
Yeah.
Um, would she verify now after the fact that those people were spying on her and they were communists? Because there's people who doubt it, who think it's nonsense.
Oh, okay. So, Marilyn, is it true that there were communists spying on you and reporting back on your activities? Yes, because they knew that I had influential friends and they were trying to set me up to be helpful to them in the future. They did that to a lot of people. It wasn't just me. This was rampant at that time.
It is probably a good place right now to mention this while I'm thinking of it. We have to be so careful about who we implicate. And I really don't want to name names. So we're going to come to a point where people of prominence who still have living relatives and a lot of high interest power in the government. Um, I have a couple of cute little pet names for them so that we avoid the algorithms. So, oh, she knew Truman Capote too. She was friends with him. What did you think of him?
So, Marilyn, what did you think of Truman Capote? He was an odd bird, but he was fun to be around. His eccentricities made
Made him
him
fun.
very
Made him
interesting.
fun.
And
I
oh,
believe
and,
it.
and because she had that interest in psychology and people, that made him more fascinating to her.
Oh, Hollywood is a rich source of study, right? I mean, crazy is the operative word there. It's just insane. So let me see. We're getting into the period of time where she's going to be in. Oh, what was the movie? Some Like It Hot. Was that the movie with
With
Tony
yeah,
Tony
Tony
Curtis? And I
Curtis. Uh-huh.
love that movie. So, not such a good relationship with Tony Curtis. Can she talk about
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Okay, Marilyn, talk about your relationship with Tony Curtis. He thought he was all that, but he wasn't my type. He was a sissy boy in my book, and I was happy to let other people take care of him, if you know what I mean.
No, I have no idea. Can you? No, I'm kidding. She got along better with Jack Lemmon. That's a question.
Did you get along with Jack Lemmon? We weren't besties or anything, but we respected one another and we worked well together.
FYI, that was a great movie. I love that movie. I think that might be my favorite movie that you made, Marilyn. I love that movie. So good. I know other movies that you made are more maybe dramatic or arty or whatever, but I loved that movie. I think it got voted the best movie ever made or something. I don't think I'm making that up. Does
I
she
don't
know?
know. Marilyn, do you know Some Like It Hot? Was it voted best movie? Not best of all time, but it rates high.
Very high. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
rates high.
Yeah.
Many
So,
people mention it when they do that kind of a list, so it's a
yeah.
frequent contender.
Well, I think there's nobody in it who does a bad job, and the script is funny. I watched it recently because when I was doing this book, I tried to watch a bunch of her movies. I saw Niagara for the first time. Quite frankly, they used her. They were always just focusing on her butt walking away. I mean, how did she feel about that?
Marilyn, can you tell us how did you feel about being objectified in the movie Niagara? Well, I wasn't crazy about it, but sometimes you got to take the knocks with the wins. And it was a good movie. It was well received. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was well received. It was an interesting movie. It was a little glimpse into the time period. It was very interesting.
Yeah. She
Um,
just said you can't control everything.
What did she
And
think?
it was Hollywood.
Yeah, she was in that movie Bus Stop, and I won't be critical because that's in bad taste, but that guy that played the leading role, he had played on Broadway and they put him in the movie. What did she think of him? I can't remember his name.
So, what did you think of your co-star in Bus Stop? He was a good old boy. We got along well. I don't have anything bad to say about him.
What did she think of the role he played?
What, his performance or the
Just
part
the
itself?
the written role. It was very much a creature of its time. It was very gendered and very I thought over the top. That's just my opinion. What did she think of that?
So,
I
what
know
did you
she
think
put
about?
her heart and soul into her role. That's
Yeah,
for sure. But I didn't like his character at all. I found him annoying.
she says, Helen, that's the way it was written. He
Well,
actually did a
yeah.
good job of performing it. He
Yeah.
performed what was written.
Well, see, that's just it. It was a product of the time. It was reflective of the gender expectations of the time. It was not the best time in the world to be a woman anyway. It's difficult. I'm a child of the 60s. So now we get into this sticky situation to talk about. Uh, there was a family. See if I can do this. There was a family from the East Coast who were very prominent in a lot of spheres. One of them had a relationship with a silent star. Uh, Rumors that the family fortune came from the time of Prohibition. Uh, Several of the adult children were highly placed in government. And one we call the AG, you know who that was, and the other was the older brother. So that's setting the terminology because we don't want to get in trouble. Dorothy Kilgallen hinted about it quite a bit in her columns. It was sort of the worst case, the worst kept secret for a long time. So I would like to ask her, and I hope she understands our terminology here. When did she first become involved romantically with the older brother?
Okay, so Marilyn, could you tell us when you first became involved with the older brother? They knew each other socially before they actually got involved. So it was after he took on the role
Mm-hmm.
that he is
Mm-hmm.
best known for.
Mm-hmm.
After that time,
Mm-hmm.
so it was maybe 2 years in.
Because there was a lot of reference to encounters and meetings and conversations on the phone, and that there was more of a relationship there that went back a bit more like into the 50s.
Oh, well, is that true? You had a relationship back in the 50s with him? No.
Well, there are those who like to make a lot of melodrama over it, but then there are those who I tend to think this is more likely that it wasn't really a romance. It was more like a hookup with like friends with benefits and brains. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Am I off the
So
track there, or is that
yeah,
about
we'll
right?
just ask. So was there a physical relationship with this person
Well,
before taking on that big job? She's saying no. It started after he took on that job. Before they knew each other, they crossed paths. And they flirted, but they weren't actually doing anything until later on. And she had she had trepidation about the relationship because there was a wife
Right.
and
And
there were
position.
children,
Yeah.
and that made her uncomfortable. So she was not willing to jump into that bed. But later on, he was very charming,
Well,
and he
yeah.
wore her down.
Psychopaths usually are.
And
It was a conquest for him.
yeah,
And
but it
an
took a
ego.
long time. And so he might have hinted that there were things going on, so people believed him. But she's saying no, it didn't happen until later.
She might not know this, but let me ask a question that's been bugging me. And I forget the name of the friend, so this might be a pointless question, but he had a close male friend. They were roommates in college. I think they knew each other before college. They were roommates in college. This friend stayed his close friend his whole entire life. Uh, was right behind the wife at the funeral, that kind of thing. Close family friend. And there were rumors. Now, I'm not judging, I'm just nosy. And I'm curious, was there more to their friendship than just a platonic friendship? There's hints that there was perhaps flexibility with this high placed man, this older brother, who could go either way, which I think makes an interesting twist to the whole situation. So, does she know?
Marilyn, to your knowledge, was the older brother what we would now consider bi? Not a lot, but yes.
I
Yeah.
don't think you can just be a little bi.
Well, no. There wasn't a lot of
Not a
activity.
lot of didn't act on it, but that propensity was
But
there. So that's
but it
interesting.
was, yeah, so there was some activity, but it was kept very tightly controlled.
But it was this friend, right?
Was was there something physical going on with that friend, the old roommate? Yeah.
I knew. I mean, how
And
sometimes you
she's
look at a picture.
saying it has more to do with the fact that they shared some deep experiences from their younger life, and going forward, they had this really
Bond.
deep bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how you look at a picture and you just know about somebody, like you get a feeling about, and I'm not talking about sexuality necessarily, but you just kind of know about their character or there's just something that speaks to you. The first time I saw his picture, that's what I thought. Just had that feeling about it. And then, everyone is so careful to tippy toe around it and not talk about it. So it kind of bugged me. Now that I know, I don't care, but
Yeah. It
I
doesn't
don't
matter.
know. So then there was this relationship with the younger brother. And that to me was the more problematic. The more I get to hear about what went on, the more disappointing his character is. And what does she have to say about that?
So, Marilyn, can you tell us about the AG? What's your opinion of him? He liked to take chances. He lived on the edge. And he made some rash choices that he did come to regret later on, that had long-ranging negative implications. Bit of a daredevil, that one. Too much for his own good. The older brother saw that in him, but thought that it could be controlled. And as it turns out, he was wrong, much to his own detriment later on.
Well, he was always getting into fistfights. I did not know that. Does she know
I
about
didn't
that?
either, but did you know that he had a proclivity for fistfights? She heard about it, but she didn't have firsthand knowledge.
Well, we'll continue. Uh, the wife of the older brother told people that she knew what was going on. Did Marilyn know that the wife knew?
So, Marilyn, did you know that the wife of the older brother knew about your relationship? Oh, she let me know about it all right whenever we crossed paths. The hostility from that woman could have fried me.
Well, I was thinking more like chilly, very, very, very chilly, frosty.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she felt she wanted to like incinerate her.
Oh, I got the name of the doctor written down here. Greenson. There's Engelberg and Greenson, and I get them confused. Engel
A
Greenberg
lot
and
of
Engel.
names.
I know it's crazy. Okay. Uh, so there was this. I don't know. I wouldn't call it uncertainty on her part. It was sort of a indecisiveness, maybe mixed with living for the moment. So she was kind of involved with these two brothers almost at the same time, I think, and didn't seem to particularly feel uh, serious, emotionally serious. She was enjoying the moment and appreciating their personality, I guess, their brains, their sense of humor, whatever, for what they were, but no long-term aspirations. She didn't want to break up a marriage. She didn't want a high-level position as the wife of this person. She had no interest in that. Now, that's the impression that I'm getting from what I've read. Is that true?
Yeah, we need to ask because I don't feel that energy from her.
What
That
energy?
feels that she was having that kind of a relationship, that she was that kind of person.
No, she didn't have the hope that she would take over and she would become Mrs. Older Brother and would be a big deal. No, she actually wanted the opposite. She was just having a good time. She was a very 21st century woman in an 1800s kind of an environment. That's my opinion. What would she say?
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. So, Marilyn, is it true that you were just having fun with the boys? That you had no aspirations for more and you seemed to not care that they had families? Is that true? Yep, she's saying I make no apologies for it. They made themselves available to me. It was a fun situation. I enjoyed it while it lasted. I can honestly say, in retrospect, it was a big mistake. But at the time, it was kind of heady being involved with people in those positions of power. It was more about the power.
Yeah, I can see that. Plus, it was a situation that did not lend itself easily to pressure from the males involved for her to commit. They didn't want that either, right? So, in fact, well, I can't name names, so I'll just forget about that little tidbit. You read the book, you'll see what I'm getting at.
But
Um,
there's a contradiction there because on the one hand, she's trying to take control of her life. So okay, in those relationships, she kind of had control, at least she thought she did, because they couldn't outwardly talk about it. So she could pull some strings. But in truth, she had zero control because there were so many other factions around that were controlling the situation.
well, that's my next question. Did she have any idea? She was under surveillance by about five different people or groups: the FBI, CIA, the big building on 1600 Pennsylvania, um, Hoover, not Hoover, sorry, Hoover is the FBI, but and he was the other one, Hoffa, Jimmy Hoffa, and the communists, five. And there's proof. There are documentations that do the whole political thing, prove it. And the people involved in the Communist Party admitted it, the ones spying on her and bugging her. When Jimmy Hoffa's hired spy expert, his hired tech guy, broke into her house to put bugs in the house, there were already bugs in there. He came back to Hopper and said, I don't know who else is in on this, but there's listening devices all over the place. She didn't have anywhere she could go that was private. Did she know that? Was she aware of any of that?
So, Marilyn, were you aware that your house was bugged and all of these people were spying on you? Were you conscious of that? No, Eunice kept it hidden from her.
That's the
She was
house.
the shield. She was kind of that go between. And she said, at that point, I was so involved with building my company and the little playground I had going with the DC group. That was just not something that was on my mind. Or, I mean, I know it sounds incredibly naive because, of course, there would be people paying attention just given their positions. But that's just not something I thought about.
Well, here's a question that would have concerned me in the unlikely event that I'd be in your situation. Those two brothers, they had like a rivalry and an ego battle and a power tug of war and an attempt to be dominating and be in control of each other. There was always this rivalry going on, this macho competition. Did it occur to her that that was kind of dangerous?
Marilyn, did you consider that there was danger given the rivalry and the positions of those two brothers? Well, the danger made it kind of exciting. So, yeah, I didn't think about it a lot. I knew there was an undercurrent, but it's not something I focused on. And again, you've got to remember, I was involved in a lot of high level maneuvering at that point with my career. Plus, you've got the interference of the Strasbergs, which kind of, it's almost like energetically what the Strasbergs were doing to her kind of put this dome over her where things were blocked out.
Well, it's PTSD. It's trauma.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
reliving trauma.
So,
So she wasn't worried about the danger. She kind of enjoyed the excitement. I had to look it up. I guaranteed she wasn't a Taurus. I looked, last thing in the world you want is excitement. I looked it up and her birthday was June 1st. I think that's Gemini. Is that correct? Does she
yeah,
know?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did she feel
You were a Gemini, Marilyn? Yeah.
did she feel a little bit like two people? I mean, I'm looking at it kind of literally.
Yeah. Did you have a sense of the duality of being a Gemini? Yeah, well, I was Norma Jean and I was Marilyn Monroe, so I think I did.
Oh, duh. It didn't even occur to me. I have a daughter who's a Gemini, and I don't think she'd be upset if I said she does enough for two people. She's constantly overscheduled and not in a manic, unhealthy way. It's not that, but it's always doing more and just it just makes me tired. Just think, and since she was little, she didn't invite one friend over. She invited four friends over to do three different things. I just Geminis. Okay, sorry, little detour there. So I kind of I don't want to make this like a 7-hour video. And there was the usual negotiating and politicking and backstabbing and bizarre stuff that went on in Hollywood. And she was in the thick of it, trying to assert herself in control of her career, and things were getting better. And she was in the middle of at the beginning of making a movie, and the director of the movie, if I'm not mistaken, was Something's Gotta Give, I think was the name of the movie. And there was just a lot of there were a lot of mental games being played upon her. And her co-star in the movie supported her. I believe it was Dean Martin. I don't know. I've read so many movies, I can't keep track. But she was getting fired. Now here's the little tidbit of gossip. This was almost the very last studio that was still extant, that still had any kind of power and had its original buildings. The actual physical land that it was on had oil underneath it.
Oh.
3 close friends of the brother's father were put on the board of that studio to drive it out of business. So it would have to go into receivership and the land would be sold. And they were poised to buy this prime real estate in the heart of Hollywood on top of a mint, on top of an oil thing. So this was going on in the background, and they were using her to wreck the reputation sort of the studio, make her look bad, make the studio's judgment look bad, create budgetary issues, create a situation where control would have to be taken out of their hands and the board would take over. And that's all she wrote. So this was going on in the background. Was she aware of that?
Wow. So, Marilyn, were you aware of all the intrigue behind your movie, Something's Gotta Give? Did you know that there was that maneuvering trying to get the land and bankrupt the studio? She says no.
I don't think very many people, I don't think a lot of people knew then, and I don't think a lot of people know now. But anything in this book, any assertion that's made has been verified. And there's a lot of false information out there. But if Larry said that that's what was happening, he doesn't want to be sued, and he documents it. And it's all documented. I mean, there's a huge section of documentation. So anyway, yeah, that was going on. So there was that. There was the motivation of the communists, the doctors, including her housekeeper, Eunice, who were spying on her for their nefarious purposes, whatever those were, and exploiting her, trying to keep control of her. Did she have any idea that Hoffa was spying on her, and Hoover and the CIA? I imagine she knew the brothers probably were. I would guess that she's smart and she probably knew they were. But did she know that those other branches of the government were?
So, the spying, what did you know about that? Well, she assumed that the people who worked for the brothers would be keeping tabs, because that's just part of the job. But Hoffa? Why would Hoffa be spying on her? That just was inconceivable.
Well, there's
know who Hoffa was?
There's a tie-in. It's the weirdest thing. Now, yeah. I hope I have it right.
She knew who he was because he was in the news, but had no idea that he would spy on her. And the FBI, yeah, well, that one she could kind of see because that went hand in hand with the brothers.
The government, right.
But the CIA, why would they? You know, they were supposed to be foreign, not domestic.
Pillow talk.
She wasn't. Yeah,
Pillow
she
talk.
didn't expect that.
They
and
wanted
the communists.
They all wanted pillow talk. They wanted potential blackmail, and they wanted secrets, and they wanted to keep tabs on her because, well, we'll get to it in a minute. But the Hoffa thing. Now, if I understand correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, and mine's in the book. Larry will correct me. Hoffa, the family, the mob. Okay. Sinatra, the mob.
Yeah.
Sinatra and the brothers' family were in business, Calneva Lodge in, was it Nevada? On the border of California and Nevada, apparently, Calneva. And also the East Coast family, the brothers' family, and the studio, the negotiation thing for the studio, the plot for the studio. It's like a web of corruption and greed and criminality and it convened. It all just convened. And she was at the center of it completely without realizing it, because she was connected to Sinatra. She was connected to the brothers. The brothers were connected to Sinatra, and the brothers were connected to Hawa and the CIA and the FBI. She was connected to Miller, who was considered a communist, and these people that she met and was casually friendly with in Mexico, who were communists, and her housekeeper, who was married to one of the heads of the Comintern, and her two doctors were communists, they were persona non grata in the 50s. So she was connected to the communists peripherally and obviously not knowingly. But all of these different groups kind of tied in together. And, the communists were being watched by the government. And the mafia was in. It was just a mess.
But you know what? That's still going on today.
Oh yeah,
that's kind of the norm.
Yeah, but
she wasn't conscious or aware of it because she didn't move in those circles. She didn't think that way. No. She was on an elevated level from where they were.
That's right. She was not interested in the deception and the greed and really the psychopathy. These people would stab you rather than look at you, all of them. I mean,
she was
all of them.
Not a gossip, not into gossip. She had more respect for people than that.
People asked her all the time about her ex-husband. She never, ever said anything bad about any of them, ever. And she had ample reason, but she never did. So let's move into this period of time that is so disturbing. We're talking about like the week or so before she died. She had just gotten back from Mexico, where she had gone to order furniture, and she was getting established in this new house. So there were pockets of space around the house that were empty because they were designated for like a cabinet that she was having made in Mexico, or a sofa that she'd ordered that wasn't produced yet. She had plans for everything, but if you came into the house, it looked a little unfinished, like she didn't care about her environment. And that was absolutely, completely untrue. She was in the process of landscaping her backyard herself. She was ordering things from the nursery. She was planting trees. She was planting flowers. She had a whole color planned, flower garden all planned out. So she was really excited about getting this, really her first home in order. And she had finally gotten enough of a break from the Strabergs. They'd gone to Europe, and the doctors were gone. It was like she could breathe again. And at that point, she began to recognize what was being done to her. And she started to take control. She had hired a new business manager, I guess, who said, you're being robbed here and here and here. The Strabergs were robbing her. The housekeeper was robbing her. She got rid of Paula, told her that was the end. Fired the housekeeper, fired her PR person, Pat Newcomb, who was doing things behind her back too. Called her lawyer in New York and said, I'm rewriting my will. And this all happened in a short period of time. And people were like, uh-oh. Now, why were people spying on her? I told you, pillow talk, right? What they were really worried about, the two brothers, she was a lifelong journaler. She kept a journal, a diary. And there are all kinds of pictures. You can see her writing. She kept diaries. They were terrified that those diaries were going to fall into the wrong hands. And it all came to an ugly conclusion with the collusion of her doctors. So rather than me tell you the story, let's ask her what happened, starting with maybe the Thursday night before. So like August 2nd, I think it was, around that time.
Okay, so Marilyn, can you tell us what happened the Thursday night before you exited the planet? I felt like I could breathe again. I had space. My creativity was on fire. I was so excited about all of the things I was going to do. And then what? The AG wanted to visit. That was Friday. She's saying Friday, visit from the AG. That was hot, but didn't last long. It was hot and fast. There was a lot going on at the time, so he couldn't afford much time to spend there.
Can I interrupt you and ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did he come because of the diary?
Do you know, did he come because of your diary? Yeah, I can say now, but I didn't know that at the time, of course. He was trying to make an end run and get ahead of some of the other factions. So that's what that was about, and that's why he was in and out so quickly. So did he get your diary? He got something, but he didn't get it all.
He came back. Right? Okay, my understanding is that Saturday in the morning, she was expecting deliveries from the nursery, and she had a bunch of stuff she was doing around the house, and a photographer showed up for a Playboy shoot that was supposed to be happening in the future, and just randomly showed up uninvited to ask questions about it. And she was irritated because she had told her PR person to deal with it, and she hadn't dealt with it. Out in the yard, working in the garden, covered in dirt, up drives the AG and his brother-in-law, the actor.
Yeah.
And they confronted her. That's the story. They confronted her, and there was a fight, like a yelling, screaming fight. And he got physically intimidating and scared her. And they were asking, "Where's the diary? Where's the diary?" And she was just saying, "Get out of my house." And they left. And then she proceeded to make a series of phone calls to friends for, to diffuse herself or to get reassurance. Is that what happened to begin with?
Marilyn, so what Helen just recounted, is that true? Is all of that true? Not exactly, no.
Okay, so can she clarify it for us, because we weren't there, so can
Yeah.
she? Yeah.
Yeah. So the AJ was there Friday night. That's true. Yes? Okay. So he was there. He was unsuccessful. He didn't get everything. So that's why he would have come back. So is it true that he and the brother-in-law came back on Saturday? Yes. So and there was a row about the diary? Yeah, this was such a devastating, eye-opening experience for her because she hadn't really understood that aspect of what was going on until then. And once she got the gist of what was going on, she was furious. How dare they do this to her and use her in such an ugly way? She thought they were just having fun. This was deadly serious stuff. Now she was afraid. And the fact that he brought the brother-in-law, who had a thuggish side to him, if truth be told, they
That's
intimidated
exactly
him.
kind of what I thought happened. That I probably didn't state it clearly enough, but they left, and then they came back. I'm going to tell you what people think happened, and then she'll correct us. Okay.
Yeah.
So this Dr. Greenson was admitted to his daughter, that he was in the habit of tinkering with Marilyn's medication. She was on things to help her stay asleep at night because she had these screaming nightmares and stuff for her anxiety. And he would decide, oh, she's a little too anxious, or oh, she's a little too lethargic, and he would open up the capsules and toy with the amount of medication in it. And she never knew that. So, which is so unethical. When the coroner found out about this, he lost his mind. He couldn't believe it. So they were manipulating her medication without her knowing. And one of the drugs she took was Nembutal, I believe, was for sleep, right? I think that's right. Let me get the chronology correct. There's a little uncertainty about, you know, she called for a meal from an Italian restaurant, or she didn't call for the meal to be delivered from the Italian restaurant. Her stomach was empty when she died. She was on prescribed barbiturates for one of her issues, and had been for a very long time. And one of the side effects is constipation. And she was in the habit of, when it got too bad, she would self-administered Fleet's enema. You know what that is? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So she ordered them in bulk and just kept them, which is one of the reasons why I asked about maybe an eating disorder. Just asking, right? So she ordered these things in bulk and used them when she got, you know, things weren't going well. And on this particular night, she had ordered some food, but she apparently never ate it because her stomach was empty. And the assumption based on the autopsy is that her bathroom next to her bedroom was being worked on and the water was turned off. And she had a little guest cottage behind the house. And so she went over there to self-administer this enema. Shortly afterwards, she made a phone call to, I can't remember which of her really close male friends. I think it might have been Ralph. She made a phone call and she was incoherent, but left a message. He didn't get the message until much later. She left a message. When they did the autopsy, they were able to discern that her bowel was recently irritated by the application of a hyperacidic solution. So they think that this doctor put drugs in the enema. And the effect that would have would be a very quick absorption.
Yeah.
Because that's a mucous membrane, right? Because she immediately started to show the effects of having been drugged. And there are, you know, phone call witness to that. Long story short, the AG and his brother-in-law were notified the coast is clear. You can come and search. They had been tearing her house apart earlier when they came to search for this diary. They came back. And unfortunately for her, she did not remain completely comatose. She had not absorbed enough of the solution because it was so irritating that she expelled it too quickly, right? So she started to wake up and started to battle them. And this was all on audio tape. Remember, she's being bugged by 5 different agencies. Everything that's said and done in every room of her house was on record. Remember I said Hawa sent his henchmen in to put in listening devices, and he discovered there already were listening devices. His last name was Otash. Otash's daughter, decades later, said her father let her listen to the recordings before they were destroyed. And it was on the recording that she was held down and suffocated. And probably held down because she was flailing and suffocated because they were trying to keep her quiet. I don't think the intention was the outcome, but it was the direct result of what they did. Is any of that true?
That's a lot.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. It's just mind-boggling.
So what Helen just recounted, is that essentially true? It's essentially true, yeah. So can you validate that it was the AG and the brother-in-law who actually put the lights out for you? Yes. That is true. And do you know, were they intending to put the lights out? Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't an accident. They were done with it. They wanted it over. It had been fun and games, but it had gone too far. And now it was causing problems for them, deeper problems. Yeah, because the fact that all these other factions had the information was making it incredibly complicated. You know, you can't keep a secret when that many people have the information.
Well, if you and I know about it, I don't know how you could expect to keep it a secret from anybody. Who are we?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So they deliberately ended it. It wasn't an accident.
I'm speechless. I'm really speechless.
And well, remember, we talked about the thuggish tendencies of the AG, liking to get into fights and living on the edge and being a bit of a daredevil.
You know what all that is? That's all characteristic of psychopathy. Risk-taking, a lack of empathy, an overblown grandiosity, a sense of narcissistic ego, self-centeredness, lying, criminal versatility. Yeah.
And the energy that I'm getting, the imprint of them, it's like, you might be a great piece, but you're not worth all this trouble.
Oh, there was an arrogance, an entitlement, and an arrogance. You could feel it in every encounter they ever had with anybody. That, in this book, that was a subtext to everything. Whatever's happening, well, you know who I am. So it's going to go my way. So I haven't really.
I think the saving grace is she was too out of it at the time to really know what was going on. And so she went pretty fast. And
well, there's a little tiny bit more. So when this originally happened, they called an ambulance. They didn't call the police. They called the ambulance came, and the ambulance attendant, because there were no EMTs, it was private ambulance companies. The ambulance attendant was the son of a doctor and had some medical training beyond just being an ambulance attendant. And he testified. He took 14 lie detector tests from different agencies and passed them all. And his story is when he went in, she was still alive. And he gave her treatment. I don't remember if it was oxygen or if it was an IV, but he did standard treatment. He said the color started coming back into her face, and he could get a pulse, and he wanted to get her on a gurney and to the hospital immediately. This guy blusters into the room with a doctor's bag and said, "I'm her doctor, step aside." And before anybody could say anything, pulled a hypodermic needle out of his bag and plunged a brown solution into her heart. Now, there is a treatment from, I think sometimes even today, they will do an intracardial injection of a stimulant to get the heart going. But that's like dire thing to do. And there is no pharmaceutical in the world that you would do that with that was brown. It's supposed to be clear. And so he testified over and over and over like depositions, and like the coroner and the medical examiner were two different things, and they had separate hearings, investigations, and he testified. She died when they did that, but she was alive before they did that. Now, does she know? Is that true?
Well, what I got from her is that her soul had already exited the body before the doctor did that. So she was already gone in her mind. But yeah, that finished off the body.
So the
So
ambulance
let me just
driver,
ask though.
Yeah, was he telling the truth?
Yeah, so the story about your doctor supposedly coming in and giving you an injection in the heart, is that true? It's kind of fuzzy because she was out of the body at that point, but she thinks that that is true. And it doesn't matter to her.
No, it doesn't matter to her, but what it does is it clarifies the character of the people in her circle. So how many people that she was close to and depended on betrayed her that night? That would be my question. And we're talking the housekeeper, her PR person, two of her doctors, a boyfriend, and a friend, the brother-in-law, because she had become very close with his wife, who was the sister of the AG. You know, we're up at six or seven people now already in one moment in time.
Well, when you asked the question, she said too many to count.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll quit while I'm ahead. It's terrible. Why are we laughing? Yeah. This is possibly the worst story I have ever heard. I'm a little bit of a true crime fan, if I can use the word fan. The only other crime I can think of that makes me feel as awful as this one did is the Chris, oh God, what's his last name? The father who killed his pregnant wife and the two little girls fairly recently. He just got tired of the wife, and he crammed the two little girls down oil tanks out in the oil fields in Colorado. No,
yeah, I don't know about that.
Chris Watts. Oh, well, that's a story and a half. You look into his family and it's unbelievable. Talk about, nature versus nurture. His mother was just as bad as he was. That felt awful. Talk about an innocent people purely being victimized. Terrible. I feel so bad.
It's almost like she was waiting for a train, and she got on the train to whatever you would call it, her destiny, and it was just like a runaway freight train after that. Just certain things, certain choices she made that all started to line up to make this an inevitable end for her.
So here's a question. I'm not quite sure how to ask this, but given what happened to her, and given the guilty participation of the AG and the collusion in keeping it a secret of the older brother, are we talking about instant karma? What happened to the both of them?
Great question. So, Marilyn, in your opinion, was it karma based upon what was done to you? Oh, she says it was much more than me, baby. So, yeah, it was karma, but it was way deeper. Yeah. She was just one of many that were victimized.
That's really alarming because what happened to her was so egregious, so horrible, such an injustice.
This was their way of being. That's the astonishing, shocking thing. There's more of that stuff that goes on right in front of our noses that we're unaware of.
It's awful. Well, I don't quite know how to end this conversation. We don't need to dig into the aftermath, the coroner, the inquest, the attempts at reviving the case and making accusations. A lot of people's lives were destroyed by this, not just her, but people on the periphery, and a lot of people gained power because of it. People in the police department. And does she know? I'm just curious. It doesn't matter, but does she know? Did they feel any kind of guilt, or were they just purely psychopathic?
So, Marilyn, do you know, did these perpetrators suffer any guilt over what they did to you? I think they might have got some indigestion, but that's about it. She's being facetious, of course.
Well, I'm glad she
It's
can
the
make
way they
jokes.
are. Yeah. Yeah, it's a long time ago. She's over it.
Has she reincarnated?
Have you reincarnated? No. No, she's not ready. And she said, the mess your world is in right now, I don't want any part of that.
Oh man, I would give you that advice. And I believe in reincarnation. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I dread the idea of coming back anytime soon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think, oh my God. Because it's not looking good. Does she have any advice for us with that in mind? I mean, she's smart and perceptive. I know she can't, there's no such thing as interfering with free will by giving too much information. I understand that. But is there any kind of advice that she can give us to halt this runaway train, to try to make things at least not get any worse?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Marilyn, do you have any advice for us, any hot tips as we go through this hell on earth right now? Any wisdom that you could share with us? Just do the best you can in every day. Try to be happy, because that's what's important when you get to the end of it. Being happy, being a good person, leaving a positive mark on the world, even if everybody around you is a shit-faced louse. Okay. That's an interesting description. Yeah, so don't let that get in the way of living your life fully, the way that you want to live it now, because that's what's important when you get to the end. And by doing that, you will make positive ripples that will impact those negative louses and can help to derail their plans. So just do you. That's the best that you can do, and don't worry about the rest.
I want to say thank you. I mean, I'm exhausted. That's quite an ordeal that she went through. And can you think of any other questions? I'm sure I'll think of them after we hang up. But can you think of anything?
Yeah, Marilyn, now that it's all said and done, do you have like an epitaph or a message that you would like to share just about you and your journey, what you learned maybe? Would you like us to know about you? There's so much negative. What would you like to say to set the record straight? I want people to know that I had a much better life than they think I did. I don't want anybody feeling sorry for me. I lived a full life.
No
I made
kidding.
good choices. I made bad choices, but I owned them all. They were my choices. I learned a lot. I cleared up a lot of karma. I will come back at some point, and I will have a good time, just like you. So don't waste time feeling sorry for me. Enjoy my work. That's what you can do for me. If
What
you
was?
can,
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, that's okay. If you can keep the legacy alive by enjoying my work, by passing it on, that honors me and it makes me happy. Talk about me once in a while. That makes me happy.
Oh, don't worry about
I
that.
love the book. the big book that was written. I
She likes it?
appreciate that.
Oh, great.
And yeah, she says she appreciates all the effort that went into, because she feels like it was a labor of love.
Yeah.
It was like it's paying homage to her
That's
and
true.
setting the record straight. It came from such a sincere, loving place,
Yeah.
and that touches her deeply.
He feels a strong sense of the injustice of the lies and the misrepresentations. He wanted to clear it up. So, Marilyn, if you really feel that way about the book, and I believe you do, see what you can do to up the sales. He's trying so hard.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. And I have one more question. What was your
uh-huh.
favorite movie that you made?
So, do you have a favorite movie out of all the ones that you made? Even though at the time she didn't appreciate it, she does now in retrospect, because it has branched out and lived on in ways that she couldn't imagine. So she was singing to me, Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend.
That's yeah. I can understand why. It was great.
Yeah.
Well, I can't think of anything else to ask, so I just want to thank her very, very much. It's an honor and fascinating. Don't you wish you could have known her?
The private her, yeah, would have been
Well, that's what I mean.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
interested in the,
Yeah.
Marilyn.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Well, she was just a good person.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was blowing you kisses. She
Oh,
appreciates
thank
it.
you. I got one. Thank you. And we are going to do our best to keep your legacy in the front of people's minds, that they know the real, true, the real Marilyn. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question that's not got to do with Marilyn Monroe, but something she said triggered me to want to ask this. Could you ask Viktor Frankl a question?
I can ask.
Okay. So Viktor Frankl was a neurologist and a psychologist and a philosopher. He wrote a few books, and he survived the Holocaust. And he
Yes.
used that, to create this approach to life, I would call it. Does he have any advice for us? Not what's in his
Great
book.
question.
Very valuable.
Yeah. Yeah.
But more than that.
Yeah. So, Viktor Frankl, are you available for just a minute? Yes. 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 Okay. So, given your experiences and the depth of learning that you got from your life as Victor, given the situation that we're in now, which is eerily similar, do you have any wisdom to share with us about what we're going through? No matter what, you cannot surrender. You must continue to fight the good fight, standing up for what's right, for your values. Don't allow them to be smothered for either fear or pressure. Continue to live your life as fully as you can, upholding your moral values. Those moral values are so important. They define who you are, and they define the mark that you leave on the world. Don't allow anybody to besmirch that. You were
Is
going to
he
say?
able to say whether there is a way to put a stop to this, or is this something that we just have to go through because we have never really learned the lessons that are being taught here? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Viktor Frankl, could you answer that question for Helen? Yes, it's almost like you are on a train that's built up ahead of steam and you've got to continue the journey to the conclusion. It has the opportunity for a positive outcome, but it is going to take a lot of effort. The important thing is that you don't give up, that you fight until the end to maintain your morality. He keeps saying morality. Your morality is so important.
Well, that's what
Maintain
it is. It's about values. But what's important in
that.
your life? What do you consider more important? Money and power, or the well-being of people, no matter who they are? Isn't that
Yeah.
the conflict we have? So my question would be, how do we break through the brainwashing and reassert empathy
For the cult.
for the people who have gone to the extreme right and who don't seem to
Yeah.
care? I had a neighbor today to tell me, well, there are a lot of bad immigrants in this country. I said, there are a lot of bad people who were born in this country.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was horrified.
Yeah.
What can we do, actually physically us do, to try to change the narrative and get people back on track with decent compassion and values?
Yeah. So can you address that, Victor? You can't force it. All you can do is continue your journey, staying on your path, being a positive example for them. They will either wake up or they won't. But here's the good news that I want you to understand. People are waking up every day. And when you get to a critical mass of awakened souls, that will shift the tide. And those who refuse to change, who walk the dark path, will be swept away like a tsunami. They will not have strong sea legs to stand on because they have gone so far to the dark side. They're little more than zombies, existing, not really living. So they will be swept away, leaving the way clear for you to rebuild your new world. So do not despair. There is great hope. Always hold on to hope. That's your saving grace.
I don't know. Does he have any insight into like the situation that's going on right now in Gaza? I predicted this a year ago.
Yeah.
Famine,
It's nauseating. Yeah. So anything
genocide.
you can say about, yes, I understand and I feel your grief and your sorrow, but we've been here before
Oh my
and we
God, I
got through
know.
it. Souls are sacrificed. You have no say in that. That's part of their karma. As much as possible, try to keep it at arm's length so that it does not derail your journey. That would be a mistake. You must find a way to put it in perspective. Send love, send prayers. Do what you can in that respect. Lobby your elected representatives. Do whatever you feel led to do. But there are certain things over which you have no control.
Yeah, that's
You,
the hard part.
yeah,
Well, before you let him go, I just want to tell him that his book, Man's Search for Meaning, is my favorite book. And I've read a lot of books. It's
yeah,
my favorite book because even though it's not lengthy, it's it addresses the most important questions of existence. It's just a fabulous book. So thank you.
it's impactful. And he says, thank you, dear lady.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Well, thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. We've been at this for quite a long time.
We have, yeah.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground. I was afraid we were never going to get through the build up, in the story to Marilyn. But there's so many interesting parts of her life. I
Well,
couldn't let them.
yeah, and I feel like if when your people watch this, if they have questions, it would be it would feel good to go back and have another conversation with her
Yeah, yeah,
with those
sure.
follow-up
Yeah.
questions. It feels a little bit unfinished.
Well, it is unfinished because the book doesn't end where we ended. The book goes on through, funeral and the investigations and the aftermath, and there were repercussions like what happened to her stuff, what happened to her dog, what happened to her sister, she had a sister, a lot of like half sister, a lot of loose ends to tie up, but it didn't seem fair to torture her with stuff where she wasn't even around to answer, those
Yeah.
questions. I think
But maybe questions more in the line of a celebration of her life, a more uplifting conversation. We could do that. Anyway, I just want to throw that out there
No, I
because
agree with you. I was wanting to ask her what she thought of all the Marilyn imitators, especially the drag queens who do Marilyn.
she's laughing hysterically.
I
She
love
loves
them.
it.
I know. I personally think it's one. I thought she would. I thought she
Yeah.
would be really.
She's honored.
Yeah. And what
Honored
does she
and
think
tickled.
about, pardon me?
Honored and tickled. It's fun. She loves it.
Think about being so iconic, that people can imitate you and people all over the world know. That's just incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope she knows how much I appreciate her doing this. And I'm going to immediately email Larry and tell him what she said about his book. He'll be so happy. He worked so hard on that book. So, yeah. Thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome.
Masterful job.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, who else could I invite to do this? I don't know anyone else who's got your gift of doing this. And it's always so revelatory. We always learn something. It's wonderful. I think we did a very good job of being cagey. That wasn't easy. I'll tell you, it's hard when you get going in a story and you drop a name, but we did a very good job. Okay.
But it was important. We didn't want to mess up the opportunity of sharing this vital information by slipping. So I think that was there. Our angels maybe were helping us too.
Well, I don't know. I was putting a lot of effort into it myself.
Oh, that reminds me. One big question I wanted to ask. Marilyn, do you come from an angelic realm? She does. I felt this energy from her, like she's one of those souls who came from an angelic realm. That's why she had that gift with people.
Pardon me?
That's why she had that gift with people.
Yeah.
That's angelic. That's not just regular stuff.
So I guess I know what realm I come from. So I actually have a question for her since she's still answering questions. A certain somebody whose name shall remain unmentioned at the moment, Deborah, once told me that I originally came from the planet Vega. And I didn't really think about that for a very long time. But lately, I've been wondering. I tell you something funny. I was outside. We don't get a lot of clear nights. It's cold and, cloudy. So it was a clear night a couple of weeks ago. And I went out and sat in a camp chair. I was looking up at the sky and I'm so blind. So I thought, I'm going to pull a star map up on my phone. And I did. I had been looking at one particular star all night. And I thought, I wonder what that star is. And Vega.
Yep.
I'm like, how about that? Home. So I'm going to ask her to confirm or deny. Am I really an alien from a former life?
So, Marilyn, can you tell Helen? Can you access that information? Is she a starseed? Yes, you're definitely a starseed.
What is a starseed?
That means you came from another planet originally, and then you later on incarnated on Earth.
Now, see, all this time I thought I was from Belfast in Ireland.
Yeah.
Not Vegas.
Well,
I'm joking.
In this lifetime.
That's right. So she is angelic. I thought that was a completely different type of spirit that did not become human. They incorporate.
They do. There are some who can incarnate as humans. Yeah. In fact, there are more than you would expect because we're in this time that we're in. So there are more of them on Earth right now.
I really do have a daughter who's an angel. One of my daughters, when she was born as a young child, had golden ringlets. Where'd that come from? And plays the harp. And she was the perfect child. I mean, I mean, this is an impartial opinion of anyone who's ever known her. I run into her teachers around town, and they're asking all the time for her and what she up to, and she was so wonderful. And her sisters say, she plays the harp. Of course, she plays the harp. You know, the angels play the harp. So I wonder, maybe she could be. That's interesting.
She could be. Yeah.
And then I have
Well, when I
couple
first started doing the soul readings, the soul
Yeah.
introductions, the angels were rare, but I've been doing them for like a dozen years now, and all of a sudden, more of the angelic realm are showing up for readings. So there's far more out there than we thought, because we need them right now.
We need something, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, thank you, thank you. I so appreciate it, and you need to go recover. And we should say, we do a little business here in a minute. I should thank everybody who's stuck with us this long. You guys deserve a medal. Thank you very much. I really appreciate everybody watching, and many thanks to Deborah. Thanks to Marilyn. And Slanga Foil. Slancha.
Bye.